My dear brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when we feel uneasy, when something deep inside us whispers that there is a test we are avoiding. We delay it, we distract ourselves from it, and we hope somehow it will disappear. But it does not, because that test you are avoiding is not there to break you. It is there to build you. It is the lesson you need for the next level of your life. And when you understand this, when you begin to face life with courage and reliance upon Allah, something remarkable happens. People begin to respect you, not because you demand it, but because your character quietly earns it. Psychology tells us that human beings naturally respect those who do not run away from discomfort. And our faith teaches us the same lesson in a far deeper way. Life will test your patience, your honesty, your self-control, and your sincerity. When you avoid these tests, you remain stuck. But when you face them with faith, humility, and effort, you grow. People may not see your internal struggle, but they will see its results in your confidence, your composure, and your maturity. One of the most powerful secrets behind respect is self-respect. If you do not value yourself, others will struggle to value you. This does not mean arrogance, and it does not mean pride. It means knowing your worth as a servant of Allah. When you stop allowing guilt, fear, or past mistakes to define you, you stand differently, you speak differently, you make decisions differently. Psychology confirms that people subconsciously mirror how you treat yourself. When you stop avoiding the test of setting boundaries, of saying no when necessary, of standing firm on what is right, people begin to respect you, even if they do not always agree with you. Another test many people avoid is emotional control. When emotions take over, respect quietly leaves the room. Those who react instantly, who explode in anger, or who crumble under criticism are often not taken seriously. But when a person remains calm under pressure, when they pause, reflect, and respond with wisdom, people notice. Psychology calls this emotional intelligence. Faith calls it patience. It is not weakness, it is strength. When others see that you cannot be easily shaken, that insults do not own you, that challenges do not destroy your balance, respect follows naturally. There is also the test of consistency, a test many avoid because it requires discipline. It is easy to speak beautifully. It is harder to live truthfully. People may listen to words, but they respect actions. When your actions match your speech, when your private life reflects your public claims, trust is built. And where there is trust, respect grows. Avoiding this test leads to hypocrisy, even if unintentional. Facing it leads to integrity. And integrity has a weight that no loud voice can replace. Finally, there is a test that challenges the ego itself, humility. Some people think respect comes from dominance, from proving superiority. But psychology shows, and faith confirms, that genuine humility attracts people. Not humiliation, not self-hate, but humility, the ability to admit mistakes, the willingness to learn, the strength to apologize. When a person does not pretend to be perfect, yet strives to be better, people feel safe around them. And we respect those who make us feel safe, understood, and valued. My dear brothers and sisters, the test you are avoiding is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Every challenge you face with sincerity, patience, and reliance upon Allah polishes your character. And character is what earns lasting respect, not wealth, not status, not loudness. When you face your tests, you rise. When you rise, people notice. And when Allah elevates you from within, no one can take that honor away. There is a reality about life that many people struggle to accept, and that is the fact that growth never comes from comfort. Every human being at some point encounters situations that feel heavy, uncomfortable, or even frightening. These are the moments we tend to delay, avoid, or push to the back of our minds, hoping they will somehow resolve themselves. Yet psychology clearly shows, and faith powerfully reinforces, that the very things we avoid are often the keys to our inner strength. When a person consistently avoids difficulty, they unintentionally train their mind to associate discomfort with danger. Over time, this creates fear, hesitation, and a lack of confidence. On the other hand, when a person chooses to face discomfort with patience and dignity, something shifts internally. They begin to trust themselves. And when you trust yourself, others naturally begin to trust and respect you as well. Human beings are deeply observant, even when they appear distracted. People notice who stands firm during trials and who collapses at the first sign of pressure. Respect is rarely granted to those who run from responsibility, accountability, or challenge. Instead, respect is drawn toward those who confront difficulty calmly, without arrogance and without complaint. Psychology explains this through the concept of resilience. Resilient individuals signal safety, stability, and leadership to others. They show that they can be relied upon. Faith adds an even deeper layer to this understanding by teaching that every test has purpose and every hardship carries within it an opportunity for elevation. When someone accepts this belief and lives by it, their behavior changes. They no longer panic at obstacles. They no longer crumble when things do not go their way. This quiet strength is deeply respected. Avoidance often stems from fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of confronting one's own weaknesses. Yet the moment you face what you fear, that fear begins to lose its power over you. Psychology confirms that exposure to discomfort, when handled gradually and intentionally, rewires the brain. It teaches the mind that difficulty is survivable. Faith teaches that hardship is temporary and meaningful. Together, these truths explain why people who face challenges with patience develop a certain presence. They walk into rooms differently. They speak with calm certainty. They are not easily shaken by criticism or rejection. Others may not understand the internal struggle, but they can sense the outcome of it. People respect those who do not complain excessively when life becomes difficult. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending pain does not exist. It means choosing dignity over despair. When someone faces hardship without constantly seeking sympathy, without blaming everyone around them, and without losing their moral compass, they earn admiration. Psychology refers to this as emotional regulation. Faith describes it as patience and trust. Both lead to the same outcome, inner strength. And inner strength is visible even when unspoken. It shows in how a person listens, how they respond, and how they carry themselves in moments of stress. Another important aspect of facing what you avoid is accountability. Many people avoid difficult conversations, difficult decisions, or difficult self-reflection because it forces them to take responsibility. Yet responsibility is one of the strongest signals of maturity. When a person admits mistakes, corrects behavior, and learns from experience, they grow in wisdom. Psychology shows that people are more likely to respect someone who acknowledges their errors than someone who pretends to be flawless. Faith reinforces this by teaching that self-awareness and repentance are signs of sincerity, not weakness. When you stop running from your flaws and instead work on them, you develop authenticity. And authenticity commands respect. Facing discomfort also builds patience, and patience is one of the most underrated strengths in modern life. We live in a world that demands instant results, instant comfort, and instant validation. Those who cannot tolerate delay often become anxious, reactive, and unstable. Psychology identifies this as low distress tolerance. Faith teaches that patience is not passive waiting, but active perseverance. When someone demonstrates patience during uncertainty, people feel safe around them. They know this person will not make reckless decisions out of panic. They know this person will not abandon principles when things become hard. This reliability is deeply respected. There is also a quiet confidence that develops when you repeatedly face challenges instead of avoiding them. Confidence does not come from motivational words or external praise. It comes from evidence. Each time you face a difficulty and survive it, your mind records proof of your capability. Over time, this builds self-assurance that does not depend on others' approval. Psychology calls this self-efficacy. Faith reminds us that strength ultimately comes from reliance upon Allah, but effort is required. When these two combine, a person becomes grounded. They are not easily intimidated, and they do not seek validation through loud behavior. This calm confidence is magnetic. People are drawn to it and they respect it. Avoidance, however, creates the opposite effect. When a person consistently avoids challenges, they often become defensive, insecure, and overly sensitive. Small criticisms feel like attacks. Minor setbacks feel overwhelming. People sense this fragility even if they cannot articulate it. Respect fades not because the person lacks intelligence or talent, but because they have not developed resilience. Facing what you avoid changes this dynamic completely. It sharpens judgment, strengthens emotional endurance, and deepens character. From a spiritual perspective, every test carries wisdom. When a person faces difficulty with trust, they develop humility, gratitude, and awareness. They stop seeing themselves as entitled and start seeing life as a journey of growth. This mindset transforms behavior. A person becomes less reactive and more reflective. They listen more than they speak. They respond rather than react. Psychology and faith align here. A perfectly maturity earns respect, not through force, not through status, but through character. Ultimately, facing what you avoid is not about impressing people. It is about becoming someone worthy of respect in your own eyes. When you know that you did not run away, that you stood firm even when it was hard, you carry yourself differently. That internal alignment creates external impact. People may not know your story, but they will feel its weight in your presence, in your calmness, in your strength, and in your ability to move forward without bitterness or fear, knowing that every test faced becomes a lesson learned, and every lesson learned shapes a person others naturally look up to and quietly respect, even when no words are spoken and no recognition is given, because strength that is built through patience and courage does not need to announce itself to be felt by those around you and within you as you continue walking forward through life with steady steps and an unshaken heart, trusting that what you faced has already changed you into someone stronger than you were before and more capable than you once believed, ready for whatever comes next and whatever lesson still waits ahead, knowing that avoidance weakens, but facing difficulty with dignity builds a strength that stays with you long after the challenge itself has passed and continues to shape your character, your confidence, and your place among people as someone who can be relied upon when it truly matters. And this is how respect quietly grows and settles around a person like a shadow that never leaves, remaining present through ease and hardship alike. As long as they continue choosing courage over comfort and patience over panic, step after step, moment after moment, without turning back from what life places in front of them, even when it feels heavy, unfamiliar, or demanding, because that is where strength is formed and where true respect begins within the soul and reflected outward through actions, silence, composure, and the quiet certainty that comes from knowing you faced what you once feared and emerged carrying wisdom instead of regret, resilience instead of avoidance, and clarity instead of doubt, walking forward with a heart that understands that every challenge faced is a seed planted for future strength and honor that unfolds gradually over time, shaping not only how others see you, but how you see yourself, and that internal transformation continues to grow, deepen, and strengthen with every test you choose not to avoid, but to face with dignity, trust, and unwavering resolve, guided by patience and purpose, grounded in faith and understanding, moving steadily onward into the unfolding journey ahead without fear of what may come next, knowing that whatever it is, you are now better prepared to meet it. And that preparation itself is the quiet reward of every challenge you did not run from, but accepted as part of the path, the lesson, and the growth that continues without an end, without a final pause, and without a need for closure or conclusion. One of the deepest truths about respect, both from a psychological and spiritual perspective, is that it always begins internally before it ever appears externally. People often chase validation, approval, and recognition from others, yet they overlook the most important foundation of all, which is self-respect. Without it, respect from others becomes unstable, temporary, and conditional. Psychology explains that human beings subconsciously take cues from how a person treats themselves. Faith teaches this lesson even more profoundly by reminding us that every individual has inherent worth as a servant of Allah, regardless of their past, their mistakes, or their current struggles. When a person truly understands this, they stop begging the world to validate them and start living with quiet dignity. Many people fail this test because they confuse self-respect with arrogance. In reality, self-respect has nothing to do with thinking you are better than others. It is about recognizing your value and refusing to degrade yourself emotionally, morally, or spiritually. When someone constantly tolerates disrespect, dishonesty, or mistreatment, they send a silent message to the world that their boundaries are flexible and their worth is negotiable. Psychology confirms that people rarely respect those who do not protect their own limits. Faith echoes this by teaching that a believer carries honor and that honor should not be willingly surrendered. When a person learns to say no to what harms their soul, even when it is uncomfortable, they grow stronger internally, and that strength becomes visible to others. Self-respect is also reflected in the standards a person sets for their behavior. When someone refuses to lie, even when lying would be convenient, they are honoring themselves. When someone chooses patience over impulsive anger, they are protecting their inner dignity. Psychology describes this as self-regulation and moral consistency. Faith describes it as consciousness of Allah. In both cases, the result is the same. A person becomes principled, and principled individuals earn respect, even from those who may not share their values. People may challenge your opinions, but they instinctively respect your firmness when it is rooted in integrity. There is another subtle dimension to self-respect that many overlook, and that is how a person speaks to themselves. Constant self-criticism, self-hatred, and guilt destroy confidence from within. When someone believes they are unworthy, incapable, or permanently broken, it shows in their posture, their voice, and their decisions. Psychology refers to this as negative self-concept. Faith reminds us that despair of mercy is not strength, but a misunderstanding of purpose. When a person begins to treat themselves with mercy, accountability, and hope, they stand taller. They no longer seek constant reassurance from others. They are not easily manipulated by praise or crushed by criticism. This emotional independence is deeply respected. Boundaries are one of the clearest expressions of self-respect. Many people avoid setting boundaries because they fear rejection or conflict. Yet psychology consistently shows that people who clearly define their limits are seen as more confident and trustworthy. Faith teaches balance, not harshness, but clarity. When you communicate your values calmly and consistently without aggression or apology, people adjust their behavior around you. Some may distance themselves, but those who remain will treat you with greater respect. Avoiding boundaries may feel peaceful in the short term, but it slowly erodes self-worth. Facing the discomfort of asserting yourself builds long-term strength and dignity. Self-respect also changes how a person responds to disrespect. Those who lack self-respect often react with either silence rooted in fear or anger rooted in insecurity. Those who possess self-respect respond with calm firmness. They do not need to insult, shout, or prove superiority. Psychology identifies this as assertiveness. Faith describes it as wisdom. When someone addresses disrespect without losing composure, it signals emotional maturity. Others recognize that this person cannot be easily controlled or provoked, and that realization alone commands respect. Another powerful element of self-respect is alignment between beliefs and actions. When a person compromises their values repeatedly to please others, they lose trust in themselves. That internal fracture eventually becomes visible externally. Psychology calls this cognitive dissonance. Faith warns against hypocrisy of the self before hypocrisy of speech. When a person chooses alignment, even when it costs comfort or popularity, they develop inner peace. That peace translates into confidence. People are naturally drawn to those who are at ease with who they are, because such individuals do not compete envy, or seek validation excessively. Self-respect also influences how a person accepts correction. Those who respect themselves are not defensive when advised. They listen, reflect, and improve without humiliation. Psychology notes that secure individuals can receive feedback without feeling threatened. Faith teaches humility without self-degradation. When someone accepts advice gracefully, it elevates their standing rather than diminishing it. People respect those who are teachable yet grounded, open yet firm. The test of self-respect often appears in moments of loneliness, pressure, or temptation, when no one is watching, when compromise seems easy, and when excuses feel justified. Each time a person chooses to honor their values in such moments, they strengthen their inner foundation. That foundation becomes unshakable. Over time, people sense this solidity. They may not articulate it, but they feel it. They know this person cannot be bought, easily swayed, or emotionally controlled. Ultimately, respect from others is not something you chase. It is something that follows you when you walk with self-respect. When you stop shrinking to fit into spaces that dishonor you, when you stop tolerating what damages your soul, and when you stop measuring your worth through external approval, you begin to live differently. Your silence becomes meaningful. Your words carry weight. Your presence feels steady. And without demanding anything, without raising your voice, and without proving yourself, people naturally adjust how they treat you, because self-respect reshapes your energy, your choices, and your relationship with the world, creating a quiet authority that cannot be imitated, forced, or taken away, only earned through consistent alignment between who you are, what you believe, and how you choose to live each day, step by step, moment by moment, carrying yourself with dignity that flows from within and reflects outward into every interaction, every decision, and every test you face, reinforcing the truth that when you honor yourself sincerely, others cannot help but recognize that honor and respond to it in ways that mirror the strength you have already established inside yourself. One of the most powerful qualities that earns respect without effort is calmness under pressure, because in moments of stress, conflict, or uncertainty, a person's true inner state is revealed. Psychology clearly shows that people instinctively look for emotional stability in others, especially during difficult situations. When someone remains calm while others panic, that calmness communicates strength, safety, and control. Faith teaches this lesson beautifully by emphasizing patience, trust, and composure as signs of wisdom rather than weakness. A calm person is not someone who feels nothing, but someone who has learned how to manage emotions instead of being controlled by them. And this ability alone sets them apart in a world where reactions are fast and restraint is rare. Many people avoid this test because staying calm is not easy. Anger, fear, and anxiety arise naturally, especially when pride is challenged or expectations are broken. Yet psychology explains that emotional outbursts reduce credibility. When someone raises their voice, reacts impulsively, or allows emotions to dictate their behavior, others subconsciously see them as unstable or unpredictable. Even if the person is intelligent or skilled, their emotional reactions overshadow their abilities. Faith reinforces this by teaching that strength is not measured by physical dominance or loudness, but by the ability to restrain oneself at the moment of provocation. When a person masters this restraint, they gain authority without demanding it. Calmness under pressure signals emotional intelligence, which is one of the most respected traits in both personal and professional relationships. Emotionally intelligent individuals are aware of what they feel, why they feel it, and how to express it appropriately. Psychology shows that people feel safer around such individuals because they are less likely to escalate conflict or make reckless decisions. Faith adds depth to this by reminding us that patience is not passive surrender, but active self-control rooted in trust. When a person does not rush to react, but pauses, reflects, and responds with wisdom, others notice that maturity immediately. There is also a deep connection between calmness and confidence. Insecure individuals often feel the need to react quickly, defend themselves aggressively, or prove their point at all costs. Calm individuals, however, do not feel threatened by disagreement or criticism. Psychology explains that confidence reduces the need for emotional defense mechanisms. Faith teaches reliance upon Allah rather than ego-driven reactions. When someone remains composed during criticism, listens without interrupting, and responds thoughtfully, it communicates that they are secure in who they are. People respect that security because it cannot be faked. Another reason calmness commands respect is that it gives a person control over situations rather than surrendering control to circumstances. When emotions take over, judgment becomes clouded. Decisions made in anger or panic often lead to regret. Psychology emphasizes that emotional regulation improves decision-making and leadership ability. Faith teaches that haste often leads to error, while patience leads to clarity. A calm person sees more clearly, speaks more wisely, and acts more effectively. Others recognize this and naturally defer to their judgment in moments of tension. Calmness also changes how conflict is perceived. When two people argue and one remains calm while the other becomes emotional, observers instinctively side with the calmer individual. Psychology shows that neutrality and composure increase perceived credibility. Faith teaches justice, fairness, and measured speech. A calm response does not mean silence in the face of wrongdoing, but addressing issues without hostility. This balance earns respect even from those who may disagree, because it shows that the person values truth over ego. Many people misunderstand calmness as weakness, especially in environments where aggression is normalized. Yet psychology consistently shows that aggression often masks insecurity. Faith teaches that humility and patience are signs of inner strength, not submission. When someone does not react to provocation, does not insult in response to insult, and does not allow emotions to dictate behavior, they demonstrate mastery over themselves. Self-mastery is one of the highest forms of strength, and people instinctively respect those who possess it. Calmness under pressure also builds trust. People trust those who do not panic, gossip, or react unpredictably. Psychology explains that predictability in emotional responses creates a sense of safety. Faith teaches trustworthiness as a core value. When others know that you will remain composed even in difficulty, they feel secure sharing responsibility, challenges, and even their own vulnerabilities with you. This trust deepens respect over time. Another powerful effect of calmness is that it reduces unnecessary conflict. Many arguments escalate not because of the issue itself, but because of emotional reactions. A calm response often disarms hostility. Psychology refers to this as emotional contagion, where calmness spreads just as anger does. Faith teaches that gentle speech softens hearts. When a person remains calm, others often mirror that behavior, leading to resolution rather than escalation. People remember who brought peace into tense situations, and that memory shapes respect. Calmness also protects a person's dignity. Emotional outbursts often lead to words or actions that cannot be taken back. Psychology shows that regret is closely tied to impulsive reactions. Faith teaches guarding the tongue and controlling behavior. When a person stays calm, they protect their reputation and self-respect. Others may forget the conflict, but they remember how someone behaved during it. Calm behavior leaves a lasting impression of maturity and strength. Over time, consistently demonstrating calmness under pressure shapes a person's identity. They become known as someone who is steady, reliable, and wise. Psychology explains that repeated behavior forms perception. Faith teaches that character is built through consistent action. This reputation cannot be bought or demanded. It is earned through countless small moments where restraint was chosen over reaction. Ultimately, calmness under pressure is a test of inner discipline and trust. It requires effort, self-awareness, and reliance upon Allah rather than ego or impulse. When a person passes this test repeatedly, they rise in the eyes of others without trying. Their words carry weight. Their presence brings ease. Their silence feels intentional. Respect follows naturally because calmness communicates that this person is not ruled by circumstances, emotions, or fear, but guided by wisdom, patience, and clarity. And that combination creates a strength that people recognize instantly, respond to instinctively, and remember long after the moment has passed, as it continues shaping relationships, decisions, and influence quietly and steadily, building a foundation of respect that grows deeper with every challenge faced without panic, every provocation met without anger, and every pressure handled with composure, self-control, and unwavering balance, reflecting an inner stability that cannot be shaken by noise, conflict, or chaos. And this stability becomes a silent message to the world that such a person can be trusted, relied upon, and looked up to in moments that truly matter, because they have learned how to remain calm when it is hardest to do so and strongest to achieve. One of the most decisive tests that shapes how people perceive you is the alignment between what you say and what you do, because consistency is the foundation upon which trust is built, and trust is the soil in which respect grows. Psychology makes it clear that human beings are constantly evaluating reliability even when they are not consciously aware of it. When someone speaks with confidence but behaves inconsistently, the mind of the observer registers doubt. Faith addresses this reality with even greater seriousness by emphasizing sincerity, truthfulness, and integrity as core elements of character. A person may impress others briefly with words, but only consistent action sustains respect over time. Many people avoid this test because consistency demands discipline. It requires effort when motivation fades, honesty when lying would be easier, and commitment when excuses feel justified. Psychology explains that inconsistency creates cognitive discomfort in observers. When words and actions do not align, people become uncertain about what to expect. This uncertainty slowly erodes trust. Faith warns against this inner contradiction by reminding us that actions are the true measure of belief. When a person commits to living according to their words, even when it is inconvenient, they develop a credibility that cannot be manufactured. Consistency is especially powerful because it removes confusion. When people know what you stand for, how you will respond, and what values guide your decisions, they feel secure around you. Psychology refers to this as predictability, which is essential for trust in relationships. Faith emphasizes steadiness upon principles rather than emotional fluctuation. A consistent person is not perfect, but they are dependable. They may make mistakes, but they do not abandon their values under pressure. This reliability is deeply respected because it signals maturity and self-control. Inconsistent behavior often stems from fear of losing approval, fear of conflict, or fear of discomfort. A person may say one thing in public and do another in private to please different audiences. Psychology describes this as impression management, which may bring short-term acceptance but long-term loss of respect. Faith reminds us that seeking approval at the cost of integrity weakens the soul. When someone chooses alignment over popularity, they may face resistance initially, but they gain something far more valuable: inner peace and external respect. Trust is not built through grand gestures, but through repeated small actions, showing up when you say you will, keeping promises even when no one is watching, treating people with the same fairness whether they can benefit you or not. Psychology shows that consistency over time strengthens relational bonds. Faith teaches that accountability exists even in secrecy. When a person understands this, their behavior becomes steady. They do not need to perform or pretend. This authenticity is felt by others, and it draws respect naturally. Another important aspect of consistency is emotional consistency. People trust those whose reactions are proportionate and stable. When someone is kind one day and harsh the next without reason, it creates emotional uncertainty. Psychology shows that emotional inconsistency damages trust just as much as broken promises. Faith teaches balance in behavior and speech. When a person maintains composure, fairness, and respect across situations, others feel safe around them. Safety is a core ingredient of respect. Consistency also strengthens leadership, whether formal or informal. People follow those whose actions reinforce their message. Psychology explains that leaders who model the behavior they expect from others inspire loyalty and respect. Faith teaches leading by example rather than command. When someone practices what they preach, their influence increases. They do not need to demand respect because their behavior earns it. There is also a deep internal effect of consistency that many overlook. When your actions align with your words, you trust yourself more. Psychology refers to this as self-integrity. When a person breaks promises to themselves repeatedly, their confidence weakens. Faith reminds us that accountability begins within. As self-trust grows, external confidence becomes natural. This internal alignment reflects outwardly in posture, tone, and decision-making. People sense this congruence and respond to it with respect. Inconsistency, however, leads to inner conflict. When a person says one thing and does another, they experience internal tension. Over time, this tension manifests as defensiveness, justification, or withdrawal. Psychology shows that people who lack consistency often become overly reactive to criticism because it touches an unresolved inner truth. Faith teaches that sincerity brings tranquility. A consistent person does not fear being questioned because their actions support their words. Consistency also plays a crucial role in moral strength. It is easy to uphold values when circumstances are favorable. The true test appears when values are challenged by pressure, temptation, or fear. Psychology shows that those who maintain consistency under stress are seen as principled. Faith teaches that steadfastness during trials elevates character. When a person remains honest when dishonesty would benefit them, or fair when injustice would be easier, they earn deep respect even from those who may not openly express it. Over time, consistency shapes reputation. People may forget what you said in a single moment, but they remember patterns. Psychology emphasizes that perception is formed through repeated exposure. Faith teaches that character is revealed through persistence. When someone consistently acts with integrity, kindness, and responsibility, they become known for it. That reputation becomes a form of silent authority. People listen more closely. They take words seriously. They trust intentions. Consistency does not mean rigidity. It does not mean refusing to grow or change. Psychology clarifies that healthy consistency allows for learning and improvement while maintaining core values. Faith encourages growth without abandoning principles. When a person evolves without contradiction, their respect increases rather than diminishes. People admire those who can admit mistakes and improve while staying true to their moral foundation. Ultimately, the test of consistency is a test of sincerity. It asks whether you are the same person in ease and hardship, in private and public, in success and failure. When you pass this test repeatedly, trust forms naturally. And where trust exists, respect follows quietly and steadily, without demands or declarations, settling into relationships and interactions like a certainty that does not need explanation, because people know what to expect from you and know that your words are not empty, your promises are not casual, and your values are not negotiable. And this knowledge becomes the reason they rely on you, listen to you, and hold you in esteem as someone whose presence carries weight and whose character speaks louder than any statement. Continuing to build a foundation of respect through alignment, steadiness, and integrity that remains intact regardless of circumstance, pressure, or time, shaping how others see you and how you carry yourself forward through life with quiet confidence and unwavering clarity. One of the most misunderstood qualities in human behavior is humility, because many people associate it with weakness, low self-esteem, or submission, when in reality, true humility is a sign of deep inner strength and clarity. Psychology shows that individuals who are secure within themselves do not feel the need to dominate conversations, seek constant praise, or assert superiority over others. Faith teaches this lesson even more profoundly by emphasizing that honor comes from character, not from ego. When humility is balanced with self-respect, it becomes a powerful force that naturally earns respect from people without any effort to demand it. False humility often appears as self-degradation, excessive apologies, or constant self-doubt. This does not inspire respect. Psychology explains that such behavior signals insecurity rather than modesty. True humility, however, comes from knowing your worth and not needing to advertise it. Faith teaches that every ability is a trust, not a trophy. When a person recognizes their strengths without arrogance and acknowledges their limitations without shame, they carry themselves with balance. People instinctively respect this balance because it feels authentic and grounded. Humility without weakness is revealed most clearly in how a person treats others. Those who belittle, interrupt, or dismiss people are often compensating for inner insecurity. Psychology shows that individuals with high self-esteem do not need to put others down to feel elevated. Faith teaches kindness, gentleness, and fairness as reflections of strength. When someone listens attentively, gives credit generously, and speaks without condescension, they create a sense of safety and dignity for those around them. People respect those who make them feel valued rather than diminished. Another powerful expression of humility is the ability to admit mistakes. Many people avoid this test because it feels threatening to the ego. Psychology explains that admitting error actually increases credibility rather than reducing it, especially when paired with corrective action. Faith teaches accountability as a path to growth, not humiliation. When a person acknowledges wrongdoing calmly and sincerely, without excuses or defensiveness, others see honesty and courage. This builds trust, and trust deepens respect. Humility also appears in a person's relationship with learning. Those who believe they already know everything close themselves off from growth. Psychology identifies this as cognitive rigidity. Faith encourages lifelong learning and reflection. A humble person seeks knowledge, accepts advice, and remains open to improvement. They do not feel threatened by correction. Instead, they see it as an opportunity. This openness signals wisdom. People respect those who can learn without ego because it shows maturity and confidence. There is also a strong connection between humility and leadership. Psychology shows that the most respected leaders are those who empower others rather than dominate them. Faith teaches leadership through service rather than control. A humble leader does not seek attention, but ensures others succeed. They take responsibility for failure and share credit for success. This approach builds loyalty and admiration. People willingly follow those who lead with humility because they feel respected and protected rather than used. Humility without weakness is also reflected in how a person handles success. When someone achieves something and remains grounded, grateful, and generous, it leaves a lasting impression. Psychology explains that excessive pride after success alienates others. Faith teaches gratitude as a safeguard against arrogance. When a person attributes success to effort, opportunity, and divine blessing rather than personal superiority, they remain relatable. Others feel inspired rather than threatened, and respect grows quietly. Another area where humility reveals strength is in conflict. A humble person does not insist on winning every argument. Psychology shows that secure individuals prioritize understanding over dominance. Faith teaches reconciliation and wisdom in speech. When someone listens, seeks common ground, and chooses peace over ego, they demonstrate control and insight. People respect those who can disagree without disrespect because it shows emotional and moral maturity. Humility also protects a person from envy and resentment. When someone is content with their path and grateful for what they have, they do not compare themselves constantly with others. Psychology shows that comparison-driven behavior fuels insecurity. Faith teaches contentment as a source of tranquility. A content and humble person is stable, and stability earns respect. People feel at ease around those who are not competing or seeking validation at every moment. One of the most powerful aspects of humility is that it allows a person to grow without resistance. Ego creates friction, but humility creates flow. Psychology explains that adaptability increases long-term success. Faith teaches flexibility within principles. When a person can adapt without compromising values, they remain relevant and respected. Others see them as wise rather than rigid. Humility without weakness also manifests in silence. Not every achievement needs announcement. Not every opinion needs expression. Psychology shows that restraint increases perceived intelligence and authority. Faith teaches guarding speech and intention. When a person speaks thoughtfully and selectively, their words carry weight. People listen more closely because they know the silence was intentional, not empty. Over time, humility shapes character in a way that cannot be imitated. It removes the need for external validation and replaces it with inner peace. Psychology shows that inner peace enhances emotional stability. Faith teaches that tranquility comes from alignment with purpose. When a person no longer seeks to prove themselves, they become naturally influential. Others sense the absence of insecurity and the presence of clarity. Ultimately, humility without weakness is the quiet strength that elevates a person without lifting their voice or asserting their status. It is the ability to stand firm without standing above others, to be confident without being loud, and to be respected without demanding it. Because humility grounded in self-respect, accountability, and gratitude creates a presence that feels safe, wise, and dignified. And this presence draws people in, shapes interactions, and builds lasting respect through consistency, sincerity, and balance that continues to deepen with time and experience, forming a character that others trust, admire, and look up to without hesitation or resistance, as it reflects a strength that does not need to dominate, but naturally commands respect through its calm confidence, gentle authority, and unwavering sense of self that remains steady in success, patient in difficulty, and grounded in values that do not change with circumstance or applause.